All right, while we're already here doing all this stuff, why don't we just do the end game text too? Because we're just going to have it all in one widget. So yeah, let's start with adding a vertical box. And we're going to put that in the center of the screen. Right. We'll get it more centered once we decide exactly how all this text is going to fit into it. So let's add text. This is just going to be end screened stuff. Let's make that vertical size to fit whatever's in it. We'll call this end text. And it can either say winner or loser, so winner, loser. It's going to be one of those. Let's add a horizontal box to that. Sit down there. And in there, we're going to have more text. And it's going to, let's change the font. So this is really tiny. This stuff, the font, make it like 74 or something. And then this can, let's go 82. Make it really big. And then in here, say something like this will be the next game horizontal box. Kind of want this to not pop up right away. So we're going to do some logic. We're going to do some animation here. We want this to say next game. No. There we go. Next game starting. And then let's get a throbber in there. Put that in the horizontal box below. Oops, did that not go? Okay. And it's kind of like, oh, it's loading, even though we're just waiting on that delay node we put in there a while ago. Now let's center it up. Add some animation. So we'll click on our animations, but let's select what we want to change first. So this end game text, I'm going to do an animation plus the animation. We'll say end screen. And in here, there we go. Select our track to be the end text because it's easier to have it selected. And then we're going to add a track. And we want it to be render opacity. Then we got these little keys we can key stuff. So from about, I want it to fade in 3/4 of a second or so. So I'll go right about here, add another keyframe. So I'll select this key. Let's see, did that work the way I wanted it to? Okay, hang on. 0.5. Just do 0. Then that should, whoop, yeah, cool. There, and we want that to run. I think it'll stay up until whenever, but I'm just going to say animation will run 4 seconds. It'll stay at that opacity. Okay. Now for the next game starting, since we got a whole box here, let's grab the whole thing. Animation. Next game, horizontal box. I'm going to do the same thing. Render opacity. I want it to start out at 0. But I don't want it to show up at all for the first 2 seconds. So I'm going to add another, going to be 0. And then about a half a second later, I want it to fill in at 1 opacity. So let me put it first. Change it to 1. Okay, and then I want that to run the same 4 seconds at 1. So let's see where we're at. All right. And that'll stay up there until we tell it to no longer be there. Save all. Okay, so we got our events already here. Let's do our usual wait for initialization. And this time we're going to need like everything. So let's see what we're going to need. We're going to need game state. We're going to need to get our player state. And I need to get, let's see, player state. We're going to need to get the pawn. Okay. For our game state. Has to capture flag game state. Player. Do I need the controller? That's a good question. Don't think I do. So we can just S2. And our controlled pawn, I'm not going to cache, but I am going to check if it's valid. Just because we don't do it in our mode, but it's very, very common in games for the pawn to get destroyed. And I don't want to hold on. And since this thing is held by our controller, it's going to persist beyond our pawn. So you don't want to store the value and then have it not be valid and then you not know why. So we're always going to get our new pawn, but I want to make sure we at least have one. So I know we waited until things have been initialized to some extent. We should check if this is valid before getting our player state. Then set timer for next tick. Wait for a knit. All right. And we're going to send everything here if it's not valid. And it might be cleaner to put that into a function. I'm going to have all these nodes. Yeah, that's what I'm leaning toward right now. I want to keep this cleaner. So, here, let's do this for now. Right click, or grab it all, right click. Let's see, collapse to function. Yeah. So if all those succeed, we can just return here. If they don't succeed, we'll have a sequence. So all those are good. We'll never hit this next all here. And this works. It's a little problem with Blueprint. Things are so hidden. I don't like setting a timer within a function like this because timers, you know, they can cause a lot of bugs. So why don't we do this? Just do a return and say success. Fail. Success. Right? Make sure I'm good here. I run through. It fails. It'll hit the next node every time. Except for here, all went right. Okay. So then we can do success not. Now in native code, we would have no problem setting up that function because you would see it. And I don't like hiding timers in closed up functions. And this, I don't like the name of this. That'll work. It'll work. And you know, since we're actually going to have, let's just do this. Okay, so let's get our game state. Let's do a couple bindings here. Bind event to on capture point changed. Do another one. On team scores changed. Create event. On team scores changed. File that. That's what we need from our game state. Now we want to get the character. So the best way would be to make a function that does this. So we would getting on a owning player, a controlled pawn, and actually we could just do at that point cast to BP third person character. Let's see. Maps to a function. Get character. One to here. Our output. Come on, man. Where am I at? Remove the bool. Get it. We could make it pure. I don't want to do that. Just make it const though. Because it doesn't change anything. Const that's what makes it const. So you know it doesn't change anything. And since we've done this, since we have a return value, we should handle not getting the character. Okay. And the sequence. We bound to on player health changed. Create matching event for on player health changed. Okay. Move all this down. Bring this over. So since we do a binding here, if you ever do destroy your pawn, we're not going to do it, but if you did, you would have to unbind and rebind every time you get a new character.